John, you're muted on mine.
Few visitors. Someone named Nancy's Big iPad. All right, I call the Village of Rhinebeck Planning Board meeting for April 6th, 2021 to order. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing for the minor subdivision for the Church of the Messiah. And do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, Jeff seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Raise your
Aye.
hand, wave. Okay, it's open. Do we have any member of the public who would like to comment? Well, first we should have Ryan bring up the map of the subdivision. So as I understand it, basically, they're taking the one lot and they're leaving the church and parish hall as 70,000 square feet. Lot number 3 and lot number 1 is going to be the dry cleaner, and lot number 2 is going to be the current rectory, which will be a private home. So does anyone on the public out there have any questions they'd like to ask or comment about this? Anybody out there, Ryan? Ryan?
No one is raising their hand or
Okay.
giving
we're gonna-
the hands up sign.
Well, I guess Reverend McKeon asked that we keep the public hearing open because the engineer is ill and not able to attend the meeting tonight.
Yes, what we would, if it's at all possible, what we would like, since there's no objection to it, if we could have a conditional approval pending the signature of the drawings. They're going to have another, my understanding is they're going to have another surveyor come in who's licensed to sign the paperwork that's already been in their office that's pending and needs to be dealt with. So we'll have that presumably very soon, but whatever you all would prefer to do.
I guess the question that we had, I guess, Michael was asking, I guess several of us asked it, that you now have on the 3 lots, it's hard to read the fine print here, but it says presumed septic. That there's a presumed septic in front of the dry cleaner. There's a presumed septic behind the Chestnut Street dwelling unit, and there's a presumed septic for the parish hall of the church.
There's actually 2 for the parish hall, one in the front of the building, one on the north side of the building. Then there's the one behind the rectory, immediately behind the south wall. The one on the church is right across the driveway from the church. So that's where it says reputed septic. And we located the one next to the dry cleaner coming right, piping comes right out of the restroom that's on the south side of the building. So there's a total of 5.
Okay, so you
Oh,
guys,
is
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Chairman. Is could you scroll down just a bit, Ryan? So the point about the dry cleaner, you found the septic on the dry cleaner's lot. It's not shown here,
Yeah.
but where would it be?
It's actually about 10 or 12 feet out from the old restroom door that's on the south side of the building.
So
It's there and it's under lot, it's right above lot 1, Jeff.
Oh, it's under the lot. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I guess our concern is that we hope that this is correct, because if something happened to one of these septic systems and they had to dig, that they can dig and work and replace it on their property, and there wouldn't be a a dispute in the future that you're digging up my parking lot to fix your septic. That
No,
would-
we-
Right, well,
You're pretty
go ahead,
confident.
Nancy.
We did have someone come in and locate the one off of Scanlon because we weren't exactly sure where it was. We knew precisely where it was. You know, we knew where the tanks for the gasoline were, but we needed to separate that from this septic tank. So we brought someone in to help us with that and also to confirm the location behind the rectory. The other three, we knew where they were. Exactly. So,
If you guys have confidence in this.
yes,
Yes.
I do.
Yep. And we're servicing the septic system pending the rectory being, your approval, being able to sell it as a private home. So that'll be serviced and we'll have that done before it goes on the market. And the others have all been maintained for the parish hall and the church. I also wanted to clarify one question that came up. This isn't an immediate concern at all about the dry cleaner building, but there is no processing of any chemicals or anything at that site and hasn't been for more than the 10 years that I've been here. So it's just a retail location.
So if that septic is beneath the parking lot, is it a tank that has to be pumped regularly?
Yeah,
I mean,
what we're going to do, Jeff, is once we've gotten the rectory squared away and sold over the course of the summer, we'll go ahead and have it serviced, and therefore know exactly where it is and size and confirm all that. But that lot we are not selling. That's going to remain in our hands. But we do want to make sure we know what we have there, and we'll make it accessible over the course of the summer. We have to do repairs to the parking lot following the construction. We've had a lot of very heavy equipment in the parking lot, so that we are going to have it resurfaced, and we'll address that when we address the parking lot being redone.
And you also said you would address the Montgomery Street sidewalk when the construction was over.
What I said was that we would like to put in bluestone, which is what we did on Chestnut Street.
Right.
What we're going to do is we'll repair the sidewalks, which are currently cement, to make them even again. But my hope is that once we've gotten the church restored and paid for, then we'll approach the Frost Foundation again for a grant to actually redo the sidewalks. And my preference would be, again, to do bluestone, so it matches the historical character of the building. But we will repair the sidewalk for sure once construction's finished, which we're finishing this summer.
So would anyone on the board like to make a comment about whether they'd be comfortable making a conditional approval subject to an authorized engineer signing the plans?
I have a question that I don't know if we'll get the answer tonight, but this building, when originally construction, is obviously a gas station. And as a much younger person, I can remember going by and seeing pumps and things there. And then the state of New York 20-ish years ago basically said all underground gasoline tanks had to be either made of the new fiberglass tanks or ripped up, and taken out. Is there any records on the gas tanks that were originally there when this was a gas station?
Sure. Francois Weigel goes back that long within our living memory of the history of the parish, and everything was decommissioned according to regulations and code at that time. It's been a dry cleaner for at least 2 decades. So what my suggestion would be is, once we've gotten the church paid for and we've gotten our that project behind us, we should certainly then explore what is going on with that building. But again, we're not, I understand the, I don't want to, since we're not selling that lot, have no intention of selling that lot. We do recognize and have recognized Francois' statement that it was taken care of, and we can certainly confirm that at a future time. And we're aware of it. So, but frankly, digging up that kind of, in order to do it right now, we just can't afford to do it right now. So we're aware of it and we'll be responsible for it, both environmentally and just as good stewards of our property. But Francois assured me when I came on, I asked the same question that you have, Michael, about it, and was assured that it had been remediated and dealt with when it was decommissioned.
I have a couple comments. I'm sorry I wasn't at the last meeting, but in terms of the dry cleaner, I understand you're doing a terrific job with the church and spending a lot of money, I'm sure. But I would like to see on your list in the future to upgrade that building. It's too much asphalt, not enough landscaping, and the building itself, the roof line and such, is in poor condition in terms of paint and that sort of thing. Starting to look a little dreary, even more dreary than it used to. So, put that on your to-do list perhaps in the future.
No, point well taken. We are going to be doing a very large re-landscaping of the entire property when the church is finished. It has been $6 million preserving the building. So we've had a very hefty lift in terms of this project of saving the building. And we also are aware both of now needing to address the dry cleaner and the parish hall too, in terms of our ongoing maintenance. So,
all right.
Yes, I agree. Aesthetically,
Okay.
It needs
I
improving.
just had
and
to
needs
put that in
look at.
there, even though the church looks terrific and I'm really happy about the northern sidewalk. So I'm not, I'm just putting it out there for future thought.
No, but it's point well taken. We'll track it.
You can scan up on the drawing to the zoning table. There's a couple mistakes on that are inconsequential, but they should be corrected. The minimum front yard setback is 10 feet in the SSO district, and the side yard setback is 10 feet, the minimum side. Those are the central business district specs. So that should just be corrected before it's finally signed.
Okay.
And the other question I had was about the garage behind the house. It appears that on the neighbor's property, probably, the garage seems to be encroaching onto your land. Have you dealt with the neighbor at all and thought about, while you're doing this subdivision, you might correct that encroachment, sell a foot or so to them so that their garage is legally on their property?
What we've done is just deeded it over to them.
Okay.
And so I think in all likelihood, the garage is older than the rectory. And it just was a casual border that we didn't challenge them. And so we've just deeded it over to them. This survey takes into account the about 1.5 feet or so that it encroaches.
So you might want to put a survey dot on that backside so that it's clear that that land is now on the neighbor's property.
Right. Okay, doke.
Other than
Will
that,
do.
I'm fine with everything. I understand the
thank
reason for doing things, and everything looks good to me.
Thank you.
Well, is the board comfortable with closing the public hearing and approving conditional subject to a state license surveyor signing off on this?
Under the circumstances, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
All right, then, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second? John Clark seconds. Are all those in favor? Aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then, try to do this officially. I guess I'll make the motion to approve subdivision for Church of the Messiah, 6430-6436 Montgomery Street. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
And, but
Well-
you were going to include some conditional statement in that?
Did we have conditionals, or we just, I mean, Richard, Father McKeon said he's going to repair the sidewalk when he's done.
Yeah, and the engineering statement.
Just a condition that the licensed engineer will sign the plans.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Or surveyor.
All right, a roll call vote. Michael Gee,
Aye.
Jeff Christensen,
Aye.
John Clark,
Aye.
David Miller, aye. Good luck, guys.
Well, we want to thank you very much. We appreciate it. You've been great partners for 170 years we've been in Rhinebeck. So looking forward to another 170. Now we have a church that'll be around for that long. So
Well, the church is wonderful and beautiful, and I want to talk to you at some point when COVID's over about having another program for the Historical Society in the church.
we love it.
Now that it's renovated, when COVID's over, we can have a meeting in the church.
Sure, we love it. Always. All righty.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, the second item on the list is continuing business. Lydia and Michael Slavy, 25 Mulberry Street.
Hi-yo.
Oh, I'm not even sure where to start. We had a
Oh my
walkthrough with
God.
5 board members walk through. Lydia was writing a long list of homework, of questions she had to ask.
So I'm making my way through my homework. You know, I was really hoping that I was going to ask you to send me to the ZBA tonight. That's so not happening. I finally had a meeting with the engineer actually this morning, and as fully expected, there's 900 hurdles, but he thinks he can be able to, he thinks he can get through like 890 of them. So that's exciting. He should have a draft plan and some clarity from the health department within a few weeks, actually. And so I don't know if that means the next meeting or perhaps the first one in May.
Because it would be good to figure out what the dimensions of the septic system would have to be, and that might give you the ability to avoid the variance in the back.
Right.
And
Yeah.
speaking
So
of variances, Ryan, did we heard from Michelle about whether the portiere there is a list of, it doesn't mention portiere, but it lists a bunch of accessory buildings and structures only have to be 5 feet from the property line.
oh, great.
So, but is that, we need to get a ruling from a zoning enforcement officer if this would qualify as one of those things in the code that
Right.
would be considered for that, since it has no walls.
Right. So I still need to get that from Michelle. The good thing about the septic system though is Dutchess County only cares about the number of bedrooms, and we're not changing the number of bedrooms in the house. So that should help. And then Michael had a conversation with Kyle about fire accessibility, and
Kyle's not concerned about being able to get 5932 or any of the engines to the back of the property, because we carry enough hose on the engine to run 500 feet of it from Mulberry Street to the back, or to go through John's driveway. He doesn't have any worry about being able to get
you mean Rick's driveway?
sorry, Rick's driveway. He doesn't have any concern about being able to get an engine to the back.
So
We need to clarify, if we get clarification from Michelle that it qualifies as one of the structures, I don't have the code in front of me, that it only needs to be 5 feet. And if the septic system can be, you know, in the right place, you can avoid going to the ZBA at all together.
right.
And then we just have to now deal with, which is, I guess, the big discussion, the partial demolition of a historic building.
Right, and I just got that permit application today, so I was going to fill that out and submit it to you all, not tonight. And
Soon.
soon.
And you have to go through the justification as to why you think that there's all kinds of things in there.
Oh, yeah. And I'll make sure that we check it against chapter 64 and all the rest of it. I'm hoping that, built for midgets is
I don't think that's the correct term.
I think it's vertically challenged. I don't know what the terms change constantly.
They do. So I'm hoping that that's one of the criteria that allows for it. But yeah, I'll make sure that I fill it out appropriately and accurately, and I'll get it to you all as soon as I can.
Okay, so yeah, but it was great, walking around, seeing what you guys want to do and what the project's going to look like, and it's going to be a lot. Where are you going to go? You have to fly out somewhere.
We have some tents.
Florida's lovely.
We have some tents. We're buying an RV. Maybe we'll live in the RV. I don't know.
Like this is going to take a long time to do what you want to do.
It's going to be a big project.
Yeah, it's going to be a big project. Yeah, probably the house part won't start until next spring. And so luckily, hopefully the pandemic will be over by then and short-term housing will be available again. Who knows? So we'll see. But
I'm told I have updated plans soon.
All right. So
yeah, from Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
I'm glad you connected with the engineer today. That was good.
That was helpful.
You should have heard the very pathetic voice message that I left him after you all left on Saturday.
Shock him. Now, of course, you have to think of if you wanted a bathroom in the back, that would you need to decide about that quickly to get that to Mark, to get that to the Board of Health, because that would affect the size of the system. If you were going to have, whether it's the gym or the office back there, to have a bathroom to be used in that building, it would increase the needs of the system.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, yeah. So he's thinking about all that. Thank goodness. And I'll get you whatever. I'll put some pressure on him to have some draft plans in time for your next meeting, so we can have that conversation.
And hopefully have if we get the partial demolition application together and the new plans, then we can have something that's possibly approvable if we're ready.
So we have to have a public hearing on the partial demolition work structure.
Right.
Be prepared for that.
And I'll gather up some letters from my neighbors. They're all delighted with our plans, and so I'll make sure that they put that in writing.
That's very important to have them on board.
Yep. Both neighbors to the side, our neighbor to the back, and our neighbor across the street are all very excited about the possibility. So, I feel like that's everybody who at least looks at our house on a regular basis.
Yeah. Anybody else on the board have any questions about this, or did we? I think we asked all the questions on Saturday.
I would just kind of, to heads up for down the road when we're dealing with historic demolition and we go to Buddy Rogers' house on Market Street, where they got a exploratory demolition permit, and then boarded up the windows and gutted the house before we got involved. And when we did our site visit, we were going to say, no, you have to fix the house. And then there was nothing left. And so when we're dealing with old architectural elements, I think, at least on my part, I'm going to want an inventory, pictorial and everything like that. So if things come down, that they're noted and they're saved so that they can be replicated. Because with the Buddy Rogers house, I said I wanted the crown molding that was on the front of the building put back, and they took it down and it went away. And there was another piece of, I'm just giving you a heads up. That
makes sense.
That makes sense.
We promised not to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we're way better at asking for permission than we are at forgiveness.
Asking forgiveness, yes.
Yeah. So, Just, there we go. All right.
That's
The only
good.
thing I would say again is I would look at the possibility of making the porte cochere smaller. It
Okay.
just seems like it's oversized for the size of the house and then this and what you need to get a car through there. So I would talk to your architect about how you can sort of shrink that a little bit.
Width-wise, right, John?
Yeah, or even lengthwise, but widthwise, certainly, that's what you're gonna see.
Right. Okay. Yep, we'll talk to him. I don't have that.
Billy, will you be able to hang on for the next topic?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, good, because we're gonna need some help on that.
Michael's gonna leave.
I'm going to leave. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Chair, we just need a motion to continue to April 20th.
Oh, for me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we'll make a motion to continue this site plan. I'll make a motion to continue the site plan review until the 20th.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the new business on the agenda is Unlimited Tomorrow, 6579 Springbrook Avenue. And see Frank.
This is Tom Mansfield. You hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I represent the owner of the property. It's an LLC, JPC ARD Ventures. It's Jonathan Cohen and another individual. And then they rent it to a company, Unlimited Tomorrow, which I think, well, I don't know how familiar you are with it or not. They basically it's a research and development, largely computer engineers making prosthetic arms, mostly arms and hands, I think is all they do these days. 15, 16 full-time employees there. The building used to be the equine retail store. And we, I don't know if you got some information, we emailed it around today, or I think Ryan was going to email it around. It was purchased in July of 2018. Not actually sure, I have to look up my records, how long it's been rented to Unlimited Tomorrow, but I think at least for a couple of years. And back in the spring of 2019, we had a few meetings. It was John Rossi, Mayor Bassett, I think Mr. Fenton, might be a couple other people. Because the issue here is part of what they do. It's actually a relatively small part, but they have these two 3D printers. I sent the videos and pictures today. And they actually manufacture somewhat these prosthetics. So the issue at the time was to discuss possibly having a rezoning of the area. It's in the Gateway Business District, to have a light manufacturing district. We had several meetings. I actually sent language from several other towns around here that have that zone. And I'm not really sure, I was just reading the emails, and to be honest, I'm not sure what happened. If I think someone left the board or this or that. It never got to the planning board stage. And it was basically just sort of left like that. And then it sort of came back as an issue because in December, we got a cease and desist from the building inspector at the time for two issues. Basically saying needed site plan review. Let's see if I have it here. Site plan review and allowable use is a violation, I guess, saying that is not an allowable use. Since then, we've had various conversations, starting with Lydia, and then a month ago, Frank Mazzarella, who is working on it with us, and I met with Ryan and Ken McLaughlin just informally, and they suggested it was actually Frank's suggestion that we have an informal meeting with the planning board. I guess in the past, pre-COVID, it would be sit around and discuss it. So that's what we're doing here. And the issue, as far as I can see, is trying to figure out which use, either special permit or outright, we should be sort of, it's not really shoehorning, but it doesn't fit real, perfectly into the code now. And if you go in, I don't know if did you get some pictures today that were sent by Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan sent some pictures and a little
Yeah.
video of how they make things on
Right.
the 3M printers and stuff.
Right.
Oh.
And if you go in, it basically looks like an office. It's open office. It's basically, I think there's 16 employees, 13, 14 of them are basically computer engineers of different types. They're sitting around at computer consoles all day. And then they print the way the printing works is actually it's parts, and the parts are separately put together for these prosthetics. And they actually print at night, and it takes, to print one thing can take like 12, 15 hours. And they usually do that 3 or 4 nights a week. And from my understanding, it might end up being 2 complete prosthetic devices or 1 or 2 a week. Most of what they do is R&D on how to make this a bigger thing. And then working with they have some customers who actually purchased the prosthetics, and working with them on fitting them and getting them to work, because they have software in it that you can actually tell your fingers to move. It's fascinating to watch. And they can actually make them work with their thinking, basically, or they somehow train their muscles in their parts of their body they still have to then work, the fingers and whatnot, the prosthetic. So a lot of it is going back and forth, I think, with Zooms these days with clients and whatnot. And there's been various talks of, at one point, someone suggested a craft workshop special permit, which just doesn't make sense. And on the violation notice, it said service business, which even that, to me, looks like it's usually public facing. The definition includes barbershop, dry cleaners, appliance repair, building trades, and banks. It's basically people coming and going. And to me, it seems like it's a professional office. I mean, if you walked in and didn't know better, someone told you it's an architect's office or some kind of engineers. I mean, basically, these guys are software engineers. And professional office is a permitted use in that zone. And they list, engineers, medical practitioners. These guys are obviously, they're not medical practitioners, but it has, the air of it's more of a medical device, I would think, of anything. And the printers themselves are, you look at the pictures, I mean, they look like 2 large copy machines. If you, like an architect's office, they have things that print out the surveys, those big printers they have for plans and surveys. It's basically, if you didn't know better, and you didn't know they cost, I think, $100,000 plus each, that's what they are. They vent with the equivalent, it's in the pictures, it's the same as the vent you use on a dryer, one of those, the things on the back of your dryer. Each of them has that. They make virtually no noise. It's sort of like a low hum inside. Outside, again, you would have no idea. And other than the venting, there's no pollutants. It recycles. The video I sent, it's interesting that actually they recycle the plastic components. It basically, it's large HP, looks like cartridges like you would use for your printer. I mean, yeah, they're big, but what happens after they print is actually the parts of it that are sort of shaved off. Apparently, they recycle within the machine itself. It almost melts it back down, and they reuse it again. So we assume the problem is that this has been batting around now for the spring of 19, really, so 2 years. They keep growing. It's a little they tell us they're going to stay. They're our tenant, that they're going to stay there for the foreseeable future. They've been growing pretty well. So the issue, it might become moot if they eventually move, but we have a lease at least through the end of the year. And we'd like to do the right thing if we can figure out what the right thing is.
I might need some help from we have a temporary zoning enforcement officer. I saw something from Mr. Fenton that had drawn up a proposed light manufacturing section to go in the code to say that this is, it. And then our lawyer was going to look at it. I know the mayor met with them, but that never came to fruition.
Right.
And the question is, tie and bond is down the road. and they're printing out giant plans and architectural drawings, perhaps even making models of houses and buildings that they're building. Is that
Mhm.
different from making the arms and legs? Or customers come in. So is it a professional office, or what definition do we go with it? And I'd like to get, we have a temporary zoning enforcement officer, we have the village attorney, we have the mayor and trustee Slaby, to try to get someone to say that this looks like light manufacturing, and then you can come to the planning board for a special permit. I mean, it looks like professional office. You can come to the planning board for a special permit for a professional office in that location. If that makes sense to people. Because if customers are coming in and buying a product at that location, putting it in a shopping bag and taking it home, is that selling stuff? Is that retail?
Yeah. There's no
I don't know.
customers. Yeah, even pre-COVID, it's all shipped. There's no, I mean, maybe I assume they have had someone come in to be fitted, but I'm pretty sure 99% of their customers are all over the country, actually the world, and they're all fitted. Everything is done computer-wise, and they ship them. It's mostly shipping. And even that, I think it's, a couple boxes a day, or not even, the UPS man comes. They don't have any, there's no retail or public, back and forth. That's why the service business, which is what was mentioned as a possibility to me, is not the appropriate thing. And professional office is a permitted use there. So if that's what your town board or whoever thinks is what it would be, it's permitted. So I don't think a site plan review would be necessary. But again, the exterior, it's virtually hasn't been changed since they bought it. Used to be a coffee retail thing in the parking lot, and that's not there anymore. And I don't think there's even a sign. And it's the same exact, and there's no plan to do anything, unless we decide, right now there's no plan on board to do anything on the exterior at all.
Well, I would like, that's why I asked Lydia to stay on that. So the village board, the zoning enforcement officer, the village attorney, someone could get together and give us an opinion that we don't need to have the special light manufacturing, because this really would fit in the code to be light professional office. And
Yeah,
then we could go ahead and apply for a special permit for a professional office in the building at the planning board.
I mean, I'm happy to get a reading from our lawyer on it, but my own reading as a lawyer on our own code, this isn't light manufacturing. There's not this constant stream of shipping. They're not in an assembly line in any stretch of the imagination. I think that actually an engineer or an architect's office is probably the closest parallel that we currently have in known lingo. So that's one of the reasons why I encouraged us not to bend over backwards to change around our zoning code, because I don't think we need to be perfectly honest. But I'm happy to talk to our village attorney about it.
Who is the village attorney, by the way?
At the moment, it's Rich Olson.
Oh, okay.
And then if we get an opinion that this seems like this could be professional office, then Ryan can get the forms to them, and we can have a.
Remind me, does a professional office need a special permit, or is it a permitted use?
It's a permitted use. It doesn't need a special permit. So,
Okay,
Chair, I don't.
Thought that needed a special permit. At one point, we were talking.
If it was, if they would apply as a service business.
Oh, okay, got it.
They would need a site plan, however, I believe, because they switched from a retail use to a professional office use.
Right.
Right.
And that's probably might be might have another meeting like this, is how extensive of a site plan would be required. I assume it's mostly exterior type of things.
Yes.
But whether or not, vicinity maps, topo maps, elevations, that kind of stuff would be required. If none of that's been changed, exterior wise.
Well, is
That's
that
sort
a-
of the rub, is even though you're right, the use is being changed in interior, exterior, you would, other than not having a sign anymore, you would have no idea that it's not the equine building anymore. And there's less traffic. It's another thing. There's probably more cars parked there, but there's less back people coming and going because they
It's a
just come
very
in the morning
large
and
parking
stay.
lot, so that's
Yeah,
not a problem.
The idea of a site plan is to upgrade a property when it changes hands so that, I don't know if we need elevations, but we certainly need a site plan and a landscaping plan, something, and making the parking lot fit the size of the need rather than, look the size of a basketball court or whatever it is. I fully agree that an office use the professional office sounds the best fit to me. If they're only putting out 1 or 2 devices a week, I can't see how you can list it as manufacturing. I do think that the village should have somewhere in the village a manufacturing district, a district where manufacturing is allowed. And this would seem, so even in the long term, I think, the village might look at this to change their code when they're doing something else. But for this use, I don't see how you can say that this is manufacturing. Seems more professional office to me. And I would just want to see a site plan so that we could reduce the size of the parking lot and put some landscaping up front and get rid of the old sign boards if they're not being used for this purpose.
So
Okay.
is everybody on the board comfortable with our discussion? They believe that this could be a professional office.
Mr. Chairman, I think it probably could. It's interesting that this is not a situation we've apparently dealt with. And I can understand why there was this kind of noodling earlier on. Perhaps it's light manufacturing. The fact is that a product is being manufactured at the site, which requires inputs and will produce outputs and possibly produce waste byproducts. We don't know what they are. My guess is that they're probably okay, as long as there are no, toxic chemicals that are needed to be part of the process, even to create the products that are being delivered there. And whether there's any concern about the storage of those chemicals on site or the disposal of any byproduct of the process to manufacture these parts. Again, I suspect it's not an issue, but I think it begs the question whether there is anything that we would just ask environmentally to satisfy. Can you give us the list of ingredients or materials that are being used for the process so that we can ensure that they're not on any toxic chemical list, and any confirmation that any output, either waste or exhaust, is not environmentally of any concern, even for the few pieces that may be generated per week.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. We can provide that kind of information. My understanding, it's sort of like recycling, the printer cartridges that we all, except that they're a lot larger.
Right.
And they get sent back to HP and then they get filled again.
I suspect, Mr. Mansfield, that we'll find that out, but at least we will have set a precedent that when we come across the next possible case of someone that's doing something that's very minimal, that we debate whether to call it light manufacturing or not. We just say, okay, we just want to know, what's your list of inputs? What's your list of outputs? Are there any byproducts? And is there any waste issue?
Mr. Chair, someone is raising their hand. I don't know who they are. They're listed as an iPhone.
It's Sean
raising,
Jones.
all right. So whoever's raising your hand, please identify yourself, and you have the
Sean
floor.
Jones. Sean, S-E-A-N, Jones, J-O-N-E-S. Jeff, to directly answer your question, the byproduct of the 3D printers is PA12, which is 100% recyclable. If you look at the information we provided to you, the system actually completely recycles any unused powder that the system produces during the process of printing. And then any byproduct, an example, if we print something and it is not usable, it can actually literally go in a recycling bin.
That's fine. So that would satisfy as long, but I am just suggesting as long as you could specify that, and again, if there's no, just to satisfy our concern that whether there's any chemicals in the exhaust that might be coming out of this heating process, that burn things off,
Yeah.
you know.
If you look at the specs that we've already sent to the board, think of the exhaust as a stove cooling down. It is a heat exhaust only that is going. So if you look at the specs and the information we've sent you, that question is answered.
Okay, well then that would satisfy. I mean, on a much larger scale, for example, when Wheeler Brader proposed to put a trash burning site in Catskill, one of the objections was that when you burn certain types of plastic, one of the byproducts is dioxin. So I sincerely doubt you're not releasing dioxin from this process, but we should expect, especially in today's world, people to be concerned about that. And it's just a good diligence that we get this, we include this in our.
Totally agree with you, Jeff. These specific machines are meant for office use.
Okay.
So if you think of like an architect office, these specific machines are actually designed to go into those spaces for them to print 3D models. So very quiet, but also not producing those chemicals. The main reason we send the hot air outside is not for chemical reasons, but for trying to keep things cool, or not overly hot during the season.
Okay. Okay. Then looking at that, as I said, I suspect this is going to be fine, but I just think it's 2021 now. It's not 50 years ago, and
Nope.
If this is not the last of these type of things that we may encounter, then we should probably include in our diligence with anything similar to this in the future that we concern ourselves with the inputs and the outputs and any waste products, on-site storage and removal, et cetera. But sounds to me like this one's a no-brainer.
Jeff, I don't think anyone on this call would disagree with you, so thank you.
Okay.
And now one of our previous applicants tonight has a dry cleaner in the middle of the village, and they made it clear that for decades, it's just been a retail store. The dry cleaning and chemicals are elsewhere outside the village, and just the clean clothing are brought into the store to return to the customer. So, we are concerned about something going on in the village. But does Michael Gee or James have any additional comments or questions?
I just wished, they made a good argument for professional office, and I'm strongly leaning that way. But they've been in operation for, it sounds like 2 years, and this is the first that this board is seeing them. And as far as I know, when it's a change of use in the business districts, you're supposed to come before us, and you're a little bit behind the calendar here. I wish we had seen you a few years ago.
Because Mr. Fenton had met with them when it first started, and Jonathan Cohn said, well, we're just doing planning now, and we're laying stuff out, and we're figuring out what we're going to be doing. We won't be making anything for at least a year or so, and then we'll come back to you. And it was just sort of left at that. But I guess this is the first time you've come back to say you are making things, and we're trying to define if that falls in the category of professional office. James, you have any comments or questions? You're muted. That's the line of 2020 and 2021. James, unmute yourself.
Thought I had done that, sorry.
That's okay.
I agree with the comments, and I think it's good to set standards, thinking of future events and future examples, not just the present ones.
Okay, so if you guys will get the application from Ryan and fill it out, professional office, then we can do the site plan review. We can make some comments. I think as Mr. Clark said, we'd like to, it's a gigantic space of gravel. And it would be nice if the parking, not, you don't have to pave it, but I mean, just to define it better and then maybe have some landscaping to make it look a little more attractive. You know, when trucks with horse carriages and stuff were pulling up, it was nice to have a gravel parking lot. But now as special office, it might be nice if we saw some landscaping to make it a little more pleasant and take the old tack shop sign away that's still hanging there. That's no longer being used would be nice too.
Dave, the sign, just so you know, was removed about a year ago.
Okay,
But I agree with what you're saying.
because we eventually were looking towards, you know, sidewalk along that whole area from, you know, Bill Clark's Mall all the way up to the mobile station and, you know, make it a more walkable village eventually. We talked about that with Frank Mazzarella, with the co-working space next door as well. So whether we're always thinking of that for the future. So anybody have any other questions?
I'm glad to see employment in the village. I think it's a terrific thing to have this sort of use in a village where people could actually live here and walk to work. If there were sidewalks.
If there were sidewalks, yes. Back to that.
Well, John, we did have 4 bicycles in our parking lot today instead of cars, so 'tis the season.
Add a bike rack to the site plan.
When we did the site plan review for the last hospital, they have a sidewalk to nowhere. It just ends at the end of the hospital property, heading towards the mobile station, but with some hope that would somehow, and Frank knows about that. We talked about that with him previously last year. So we have hope. We always have hopes for the future.
It happens. Red Hook used to have a couple of those, and then they got a grant, and they linked all the sidewalks together.
I know. I don't know how Red Hook did that. I saw them building all the sidewalks, all the curb cuts. I said, where did Red Hook get the money to do that? Because it goes all the way up. You can walk from the traffic light all the way to Holy Cow and get an ice cream.
But prior to that, there were little sections to nowhere, like you were saying, that made no sense. It helps to have a county executive that lives in our town.
Oh man, that's the reason why like my streets never, well, I mean, not anymore, but like if nobody who's on like a mayor or a trustee gets their street paved in this village. So like, you know, clearly we're doing it wrong if Mark figured out a way to pay for all of those sidewalks.
Yeah. I saw them a couple years building. I said, where did they get the money all the way through the village? I was
think
very
it's
impressed.
state money that they got because there's low and moderate income residents in that area, but that's just my guess.
Yeah, Rhinebeck gets punished a lot for being a wealthy community. We don't get what other people get.
We have very nice fire trucks though.
We have nice fire trucks. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you next time. If you talk to Ryan tomorrow, and
We'll circle back with Ryan and Lydia, and hopefully we can get it site plan done. Not sure, but we can see if we can get it done by your May meeting.
okay, good, excellent.
You should get a sign off from the zoning enforcement officer, not just Ryan or whoever. You know, somebody official has to make that determination.
Right.
That'd be Ken McLaughlin.
I think it would be Michelle Turk, but I'm not sure. I don't understand how this.
How this is working now.
Michelle or Ken, yeah.
Okay.
Sign off for what exactly?
That professional office, this is the correct use categorization for this property.
Okay.
Shouldn't be just up to us because we don't have the authority to make that decision.
Understood. Thank you guys and Lydia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we just got 2 sets of minutes. I haven't had a chance to look at them. Can everybody take a look at them, and we can approve them at the April 20th meeting. 420 meeting.
The only thing I saw was Hollenbeck in regards to Chesney's fence is misspelled. It's Hallen, not
Okay.
HO.
And I found a number of things, and I can either send it to you or wait till next time. I marked them up on my copy.
Email them me, Jim,
Okay, yeah,
and I'll get them ready for next time.
great.
Okay,
Okay.
I saw a few minor items. I'll do the same, Ryan.
Very good.
All right, anybody have any comments, questions, suspicious activities in the village? Everything looks good? Okay, well, to have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I do actually have a question. Sorry, I don't mean to drag this on. Those on Livingston, there's like these tree bushes that are always problematic for the sidewalk on Livingston down near Rachel's house. What do we do about that? Do we just send them a letter and say, don't forget to trim your bushes back? You know which ones I'm talking about? They're on the north
Yeah.
side of Livingston.
Yeah, they actually came in and we told them to trim them back, and they trimmed them back a little bit, but they just grow back. You know, they really need to be
They need to be removed.
either cut back completely to something, 3 or 4 feet high and
Are these in the front yard?
Yep.
Are these right by the sidewalk?
Yeah, I mean, they get to the point and they're starting to do it again where the sidewalk becomes unusable.
I think there's a section in the code for front yard maintenance that it cannot obstruct safe passage on sidewalks.
Right, so
So
would
I
that be
think a
Michelle?
letter.
That would be a
Yes,
Michelle
it can
thing?
be Michelle or Ken.
Okay, great. Can you note that, Ryan? I'll
Mhm.
try and figure out what the house number is.
Well, you can do the same on the Blue House right across from Village Hall there. They have the same thing where their bushes are coming right out into the sidewalk. And if I'm going with my wife, one of us is on the sidewalk and the other one has to step off because
I know the house, yeah.
And that happens occasionally on South Street, with the old parsonage, when you get to the corner of Parsonage and South, there's that whole row of trees that occasionally block the sidewalk.
and if you're going to be, sending letters out to these people, you might as well get Spiro because Jeff brought it up, he took up some of his bluestone and I said, I think he's going to fix it. Well, he just put in gravel and it, that's been like 3 or 4 weeks now. So,
Oh,
You
right,
guys are
yeah.
vicious tonight.
yeah. Thank you, Lydia.
Oh,
Hey, I've been going for walks and reporting people for sidewalk violations all month. It's been driving Ryan crazy.
Over the last couple of years, people have done a great job putting their sidewalks together and making it a little more walkable village and not having it, but still, everybody still walks in the streets.
So I'm gonna need a little bit more clarification and accuracy than Big Blue House across from Village Hall.
Town hall.
Town hall
Town
or whatever. So there's this fancy dandy thing called parcel access. Get on there and find me the legal address, please.
it's on the east corner of Center and 308.
I'll send you
Alright.
an email, Ryan.
All right. I guess the one thing I have is I'm sure everyone has seen in the mayor's message, or if you saw at the reorg meeting, we have a vacancy of a planning board member. Jim is doing a great job as the alternate. But if you know a village resident who likes to spend awesome Tuesday night evenings, first and third Tuesdays, have them apply.
Yeah, I spoke to Martina what was it, yesterday? I had to ask her a couple of questions. I said, by the way, are they appointing a planning board member? Martina said, if we have no applications.
Yeah, that's also on my to-do list. Other than my historic demolition permit, I need to rustle up some applicants.
So I could sweeten the deal with a piece of candy,
Really?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Just looking at our board, I wondered, is a beard or mustache required?
I was thinking of,
In fact, I'm looking for someone who's genetically incapable of growing a beard or.
I know that.
that would be some welcome diversity, Lydia.
Right.
Because James, was on the board for many years, was chair as well. I don't know if he'd be interested in looking to make a comeback kid.
You're talking here, well, I've enjoyed it, and this has been fun getting back, but I also have another board I'm on that keeping me busy, so.
I think he likes the alternate because it comes with as needed. So that
But
as
you need
needed
him a lot these days.
No, I
is real key. So
Okay.
Thank you, James, for your service.
Yes, we thank you, James, for filling in at a
Yeah.
critical time for us.
Glad to
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll see you guys on the 20th.